enthusiasts, and welcome to the final entry in my worst of 2016 list. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this since I'm like the only person who hated it, but that's okay. We are all allowed to have a different opinion of movies. This just happens to be mine. If I don't agree with you, don't take it personally because it has nothing to do with you. So here is my review on 2016's Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe is a 2016 American horror film directed and written by Fede Alvarez and also written by Rodolfo. I actually have no idea how to pronounce his last name, just let you know. The film stars Jane Levy, Dylan Minnette, Daniel Zovatto, and Stephen Lang. It follows a trio of thieves who break into the house of a blind man hoping to walk away with a massive fortune, but the man isn't as helpless as he seems. I was genuinely looking forward to this film for months, so I was thrilled when I finally got the chance to watch it, which is why I was so angry when the film ended and I realized what a waste of my time it had been. I understand the majority of viewers loved this film, found it to be full of suspense, it scared them, etc. I'm okay with being part of the very small percentage of people who hated this film. If I'm the only one who hates it, that's okay too, because at least I can list and logically explain the reasons why I do. I feel most people watch a film and choose to accept whatever they're being shown most of the time. Occasionally, they are shown something that fights with how their mind works in a way that they are able to resist it and look a little deeper at what is being sold to them. This is what happened with me. I was fully prepared for suspense, to be on the edge of my seat, holding my breath like everyone else described. I even watched this film alone in the dark for insurance, but not even that made me susceptible to the film's effects. I felt this film was rather predictable and weak. We have our trio, aside from Rocky. We're not given any backstory or extra knowledge about the other members of the group, so it's hard to root for them. You're not encouraged to hope for their survival because they're a bunch of dumb kids doing something stupid, and put those two things together, you're gonna get trouble, and to a degree, they deserve it. Our blind villain spends most of the time saying nothing. He's blind, not mute. I don't understand how you'd never instinctively say anything to someone who's threatening to shoot you. That makes zero sense to me. I didn't exactly buy Stephen Lang's blind performance. He goes from seeming like he has no idea how to move around his own home to suddenly being extremely capable as if he's still got 20/20 vision. He bounces back and forth so much I can't believe the performance. The trio, especially Rocky, played by Jane Levy, I found annoying. No matter the level of danger they were in, the money continued to be priority. Even when they're getting killed one by one, money was more important than life. The stupidity of the characters continued, which made my interest in them diminish. Alex, played by Dylan Minnette, another member of the trio, is like a yo-yo. He bounces between calling the police and not calling the police way too much. Each time he is logical and methodical about it, giving sound reason to why this is right, but changes his mind 2 seconds later. It was easy to see Rocky would be the survivor as she was the only character whose life we get to see into. The fact they even had to have that poetic arrival of the ladybug in her time of need, or using a car trunk to save herself when it was a traumatic place for her in her past, it was overly cliche and I didn't feel it fit the tone of the film. I felt the film put far too much emphasis on the blind man's dog. That dog showed up in unexpected places, managed to break through doors and back seats without a problem. It was beyond insane and behavior I've never seen in a dog before. Not even sure Cujo had that much intelligence. This dog managed to climb into a vent close to the ceiling to hunt down a girl and still managed to turn around and find its way out. This dog showed up everywhere and I was finding it extremely annoying and unrealistic. At one point, the dog realizes it can't chase its prey over the fence and is smart enough to think to run around the length of the fence and manage to catch up with her. I'm not sure how to respond to this. The only part that is disturbing about this film is when the blind man finally speaks. We find he's angry at the people who have broken into his home because the young girl he had locked in his basement is dead. And even though he shot her, he blames the kids who were trying to free her because she was pregnant with his child. There is some very twisted psychopathy revealed in this moment, which escalated when he plans to repeat the process with Rocky. This was the only time I was disturbed. Aside from that, I found this villain to be rather irritating and too chaotic. By the end of the film, Rocky, as predicted, has survived and is now watching on the news as the blind man is found alive and dubbed a hero for killing the people who attempted to rob him. This is where I get angry and my questions begin. I feel this plot is seriously flawed. The big twist is the blind innocent man isn't innocent. However, I ask myself, how does a blind man manage to locate, kidnap, and hold captive and impregnate the woman who accidentally killed his daughter? He may be able to hold his own in a fight, but he's still blind. He couldn't have driven and locked her in the trunk of his car. He couldn't have caught the bus and abducted her from her home. It's a foreign setting to him, and the odds would have been stacked against him. And I'm sure the bus driver might ask questions. He couldn't have abducted her during her daily routine because he's blind and can't observe it. And no way for him to know there are no witnesses. We've established his victim was a young rich girl, so chances are she didn't come knocking on his door out of remorse. So this one crucial part of the plot and his character's psychopathy makes absolutely no sense because I can't see how he pulled any of this off. My other issues are I in no way believe the police would have walked into that home and thought he was innocent. 2 guns were used, both of which would have had his fingerprints on them. One would no doubt be unregistered. Time of death would be different for each victim with hours difference between them. Now yes, police wouldn't notice this till later during autopsies and such, but the flaws are still there. First victim was killed and had a bag put over his head and dragged away. This is not the actions of someone acting defensively. The police surely would have gone to the basement where they found the owner. Yet they never found his little padded cell. You're saying the police never discovered a harness with a turkey baster full of sperm next to it? They didn't see his sperm lab, or that the harness would have had blood stains on it? Because surely if the police looked around, they would have discovered the tub of acid where he was dissolving his dead kidnapped victim. One would assume enough pieces would be left by the time the police arrived. Maybe not, could be wrong. Also, how did the police explain a giant pool of blood in the basement which had nobody attached to it? Or why a screwdriver was broken off in the padlock in the basement hatch? Yes, I'm sure plenty will say I looked into this too deeply, but these are just my initial observations. There are a million red flags that would suggest the owner of this home is no angel. While he may be a veteran, he was a sick man, and evidence of that was all over his home. There would have been no obvious signs of a break-in as everything is bolted or nailed shut from the inside. Evidence, no doubt later, would indicate just how many people were in that home, 2 of them being female, and chances are the blood of our poor dead female would reveal she was pregnant. I genuinely don't have to overthink or look too hard to see these things or ask these questions. They are my brain's first response. Others just enjoy the movie, but I can't because I can't stop seeing all that is wrong with it. I thought the acting was rather poor and the plot was severely flawed. I didn't feel any of the suspense I was promised and the sense of dread one should experience during scenes where characters are trying to move around in the dark. Just gave me bad Blair Witch Project flashbacks. I certainly don't expect anyone to agree with any of the things I've said, but nevertheless, I walked away hating this movie and feeling extremely let down. I miss horror films that showed intelligence, films you can look at and tell the writers and directors put a great deal of thought and time into developing this film. Most films today, especially dramas, get this level of attention to detail, but horrors seem to be left struggling. I know a great deal of the population enjoyed and loved this movie, and I'm glad they did. I sadly was not one of them, but for every film you will find those who love it and those who don't. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel to see upcoming videos. That was the last of my worst of 2016, so comment down below and tell me what are some of the worst movies you watched last year. I'd love to know. Until next time, bye.